Long ago, in a land bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, there lived a fearsome warrior named Lee Shun. His name echoed through the valleys and forests, invoking fear and respect alike. Brave as a lion and fierce as a tempest, Lee Shun was a formidable force, his courage dwarfing mountains. Yet, what was equally legendary was his fiery temper, burning brighter than the midsummer sun. One day, Lee Shun journeyed to a neighboring kingdom on a diplomatic mission. As he was traversing the bustling markets, he found himself in a heated argument with the local soldiers, over a trifling dispute about his horse's accommodation. His fury ignited. Lee Shun unsheathed his sword and challenged them all to a duel. News of the impending duel swiftly reached the ears of the local king, who was well aware of Lee Shun's reputation. Hoping to defuse the situation and prevent any bloodshed, he promptly invited Lee Shun to share a meal at his palace. Accepting the king's invitation, Lee Shun sheathed his sword and followed him. During the meal, an unexpected guest made its appearance. A small sparrow, drawn by the aroma of the feast, fluttered in through an open window and perched itself on Lee Shun's plate. Disgust and anger rippled through him. With a swift movement, he drew his sword once again to kill the bird. Looking at the unsheathed sword gleaming in the flickering candlelight, the king's eyes widened. He let out a soft sigh and calmly intervened, his voice steady despite the tension in the room.
"Ah, Lee Shun, your reputation precedes you. Even a small sparrow cannot escape your wrath,"
the king remarked, humor lacing his words. Lee Shun's gaze hardened as he locked eyes with the king. His hands tightened around the hilt of his sword, the muscles in his jaw twitching from the intensity of his glare.
"A man of my stature does not tolerate impertinence, not even from a bird."
The king, unfazed by Lee Shun's stern demeanor, continued in a soothing tone.
"Is it not true that the bird has merely sought food? Look closely. It's not the bird that has disrupted your peace. It's your reaction to its actions. And remember, Lee Shun, that a warrior's true strength is not in his readiness to draw his sword at every instance of provocation, but rather in his ability to sheath it when necessary. Is that not the case?"
Lee Shun paused. He looked at the sparrow, then back at the king. His grip on his sword slackened slightly.
"You speak wise words, Your Majesty,"
he admitted grudgingly.
"but what does one do when their honor is at stake?"
"Honor is not lost by a trifling sparrow stealing a morsel from your plate, Lee Shun. It is lost when we let our pride dictate our actions."
Lee Shun froze, taken aback by the king's words. He slowly lowered his sword and stared at the king, his heart pounding in his chest. The king continued with a gentle smile.
"You see, Lee Shun, every action in our world presents us with a choice. You could have chosen to shoo the bird or ignore it entirely. Instead, you chose anger. But why? Isn't it within your power to make a different choice?"
For the first time in his life, Lee Shun felt his anger slipping away from him. He contemplated the king's words and found himself agreeing with his wisdom. Sheathing his sword, he allowed the sparrow to take flight. The tension in the room dissipated as Lee Shun admitted,
"Your words have truth in them, Your Majesty. I will remember them."
The king's words held a mirror to his soul, showing him the self-inflicted torment he had been nurturing within. He realized then that his temper was not an uncontrollable force. It was merely a choice that he made repeatedly. Intrigued and humbled by this newfound wisdom, Lee Shun decided to seek further understanding from the king. They spent hours discussing philosophy and mindfulness. The king taught him about the Zen practice of mindfulness, of being present in every moment and making conscious choices. He told him,
"To control your anger does not mean suppressing it. It means acknowledging it and then letting it go. Anger is like holding a burning coal with the intent to throw it at someone else. You are the one getting burned."
Struck by these teachings, Lee Shun dedicated himself to practicing restraint and mindfulness from that day forward. His transformation was gradual but profound. The tempest within him calmed, replaced by a serene sea of wisdom and patience. The following morning, Lee Shun met with the soldiers he had challenged to a duel. Instead of drawing his sword, he extended his hand in a gesture of peace. Word of Lee Shun's transformation spread throughout the kingdom, reshaping his image. The warrior who was once feared for his fiery temper was now revered for his bravery and wisdom alike. From that day forth, Lee Shun wasn't just known as a fierce warrior, but also as a wise diplomat, who knew when to fight and when to extend a hand of peace. His story became a testament to not just courage and valor, but also to wisdom and enlightenment. And thus, the legend of Lee Shun continued to grow, recognized not just in his homeland but in all neighboring kingdoms as well. The story of Lee Shun underscores the value of restraint, understanding, and perspective. It teaches us that true strength lies not just in physical prowess or aggression, but in the ability to control our impulses and respond thoughtfully. The tale implores us to consider the intent behind actions before reacting. As demonstrated by the Sparrow incident, what may initially seem disruptive might be innocent upon closer inspection. Thus, exhibiting patience, empathy, and self-restraint are as critical as courage and strength in maintaining harmony, qualities which define a true warrior. This is Awakening Essence. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video and would like to hear more like this, remember to subscribe and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from our audience what you would like to see us bring. Until next time.